1,300 companies, 27,000 samples of small arms, ammunition and equipment. This is Army 2019. Compared to last year, the exhibition of the forum has doubled, and representatives of 110 countries came to see and evaluate the innovations of the Russian defense industry. This is also a record. All the heavy armor on the open ground is the size of several football fields. The organizers have published a long list of new products. To find and examine them all, you need more than an hour to walk through the long mazes of tanks, self-propelled guns and armored vehicles. But the most courageous expectations of the guests were more than justified. For example, the audience was shown the Pantsir SM for the first time. This ultra-precision complex can hit enemy air targets at a distance of up to 40 kilometers, twice as far as the previous model. The Drok self-propelled mortar and the Corsar reconnaissance drone were among other products. In general, the Ministry of Defense had every reason to talk about the safety margin and the progress of the national defense industry complex. Contrary to the sanctions that were introduced to slow down the scientific and technological progress in Russia, the defense industry enterprises not only withstood, but also increased the positive dynamics of their development. I'm sure that the forum will allow our guests and partners to fully verify this. Most of the samples of machinery could be studied in exquisite detail, to evaluate the layout of the armored vehicle cabin and even to sit on the seat of the soldier driver or gunner. Now the main trend is additional protection of the combat crew. Here, for example, one of the latest Tigers. A gun is mounted on it, but you can also put a machine gun and even a grenade launcher. Previously, the gunner was at the top, in front of the enemy, as they say, in the line of fire. Now the problem has been solved. The operator-gunner sits in the cabin and controls the gun remotely. The guidance system is more like a computer game, a monitor and a couple of joysticks. To capture the target and shoot, just press a few buttons. Several of these Tigers have already been tested in real combat conditions in Syria. Due to the use of a remote control system, the effectiveness of shooting has increased several times, according to the developers. This is our arbalete, the second or third on issues and photos. Many people are interested in it, because, well, what is the Tiger for? It's just a special forces vehicle, roughly speaking. And then there's an additional function, as firing and neutralizing the enemy, and shooting at lightly armored cars. Special attention at the forum was paid to scientific developments. Several military pavilions were allocated for military and scientific innovations. President Vladimir Putin paid special attention to this exhibition. In addition to defense enterprises, young scientists demonstrated their latest achievements to the president. This glove helps control the robot with a built-in gyro. We can control its movement. Due to the special finger-mounted sensor, we can control the facial expressions. But most of the forum guests were struck by another novelty. Aero Military Technopolis presented a drone for surveillance in the form of a polar owl. Judging by the appearance of the bird, the developers have shown all their soldier ingenuity. The drone resembled to some visitors a character from the popular saga about wizards, while others thought that the owl had swallowed a light bulb. The authors of this novelty, however, were not frustrated at all. They reported that they'd continue to experiment with camouflage security and would soon present another version of the drone in the form of a falcon. Its flight range is limited, in fact, to the flight time. It's about 30 minutes. With an average speed of 60 kilometers per hour, it can move away to a radius of about 30 kilometers. In addition to the development of drones, Aero Technopolis will have to ensure the leadership of Russia in the field of artificial intelligence. This task is put from the Ministry of Defense. The military will approach its implementation, apparently, with no less creativity than the Sova or Owl and the Sokol Falcon drones. Discussing the project, for example, they remembered Goethe, a German writer. The use of artificial intelligence in decision-making is a great opportunity, but it has a considerable risk. It should be understood that artificial intelligence can act not only as an advisor and assistant in decision-making, but also as a kind of digital Mephistopheles. A world premiere was presented, the second product in the Zala Lancet combat drone line, and fashion for drones was supported by the Kalashnikov Corporation. The company's specialists have developed a suicide drone. At the presentation, the head of the company intrigued foreign military attachés and journalists, announcing the weapons of the future, a new robotic vehicle. Not so long ago, we received an order for an experimental design development with the Ministry of Defense, which they'll be calling Soratnik or Companion. They'll be completely different products. It'll be a whole line of products, but all of them will be based on the technologies that we have initially developed, invented, and were able to verify. The forum section with drones turned out to be the most diverse and creative. For example, take the competition between the pilots in the drone biathlon. Participants had to pass the speed track with obstacles and shoot down a special target at the finish. Guests of the forum could only watch these battles. After all, drones are rather expensive, and moreover, very fragile in the hands of inexperienced operators. But one could relieve his feelings at the weapons center. Visitors were not limited there. Anyone could fire machine guns and pistols of the latest models. Explosions, gunshots, moans, screams of the wounded, talks of military men are heard there. There can be many scripts.
Ощутить на себе все тонкости сражения на передовой.
To experience all the ins and outs of the battle on the front line. This is the opportunity for military doctors with a new virtual simulator. We developed a special robot for training skills of first aid on the battlefield and emergency resuscitation. Now the teacher will set the situation in the program when he unfortunately begins to die.
А его глаза реагируют на свет. Все жизненные показатели робота.
The robot is very realistic. It can imitate breathing, and its eyes react to light. All the vital signs of the robot and the doctor's actions are displayed on the instructor's tablet. The position is correct. I charged the defibrillator and shock. A sinus rhythm appeared. He began breathing. He opened his eyes. We have revived the patient.
На фронте, впрочем, важны не только высокие технологии.
On the front, however, not only high technology and modern weapons are important. For example, the Minister of Defense evaluates a new mobile bread-baking complex.
Уже формы здесь стоят. Формы подаются туда. Почему? Она 800 грамм.
Но не хлебом и зрелищами.
But man does not live by bread alone. Army 2019 is also the main marketplace of the Russian military-industrial sector. For example, last year, Rostec State Corporation signed contracts for more than 100 billion rubles.
Подписан целый ряд соглашений по финансированию разработок.
We have signed a number of agreements on financing the development and production of modern types of military equipment. I hope that the portfolio of orders for Rostec will be added with solid contracts that we will sign with delegations from Asia, Africa, and the CIS countries.
В основном вооружение нашей армии.
Basically, the armament of our army is the equipment of the Soviet Union, the Russian equipment. And in the future, we plan to continue purchasing Russian weapons. We've been able to check it in practice, so we do not doubt the quality. Foreign military delegations have long been actively interested in Russian developments. A queue of foreign guests was lined up at the meeting room of the Omsk Popov radio plant. The company showed its latest developments at the exhibition, radio relay stations for command and control. They're interested in our equipment because most countries do not have the potential, specifically in military machinery. That is, security, noise immunity, communication range, and especially the climatic and mechanical effects that the equipment manufactured by our company withstands. It's rated very highly. The Omsk radio plant is actively engaged in product diversification. The company has established the production of modern telecoms equipment. The broadcasting transmitter that was shown at the exhibition is already in demand. Our transmitters correspond to all world analogs in terms of quality characteristics. Our company has developed them, and now we already have contracts for deliveries to MKR Media, a media company that owns part of the frequencies. Traditionally, the demand for new products of the Russian aviation industry is high. Our country has already delivered 24 Su-35 fighter jets to China, one of the most functional and efficient aircraft in its class. China does not exclude the possibility of ordering a new batch of these fighters. It was possible to examine such a popular aircraft close to the Kubinka airfield. There, the Himeimin base in miniature was deployed for the forum guests. Weapons and equipment on combat duty in Syria were shown, as well as how pilots live and relax. The pilot's housing is rather modest, but it's furnished in style. Inside, the room is lined with wood. Pictures or photos of friends and family hang on the walls. There's a wardrobe for military uniforms, a small fridge, and a desk. The latest issue of the Krasnaya Zvezda newspaper is always on it, even in distant Syria. At the same time, the show was in the air. There, Strizhi, Ruskiye Vitezi, and Berkutty aces demonstrated their skills. They performed acrobatic maneuvers, and on the ground, tank drivers showed ingenuity and amazed the audience with the wonders of maneuvering and controlling multi-ton machines. The main highlight of the Army 2019 forum is the Polite People show. Spectators were shown an entertaining battle involving tanks, ABF units, Marines, and aerospace forces. Many of the new products that the audience saw will soon begin service in the Russian military. According to the results of the forum, the experts of the Ministry of Defense selected about 300 unique developments. Army 2019 was also a record in terms of government contracts. Almost 50 of them, totaling more than 1 trillion rubles, were signed. Artyom Yevdokimov, Alexander Mamedov, TV Bricks.